Hey everybody, another roster update for you all coming out from Shift, talking about Moist Esports, a team that continues to let their star players go. It's pretty crazy stuff. If you guys haven't seen the report or don't know what I'm talking about, Moist is expecting to bring in Oaly to replace AztraL ahead of the RLCS Spring Split, which is pretty interesting, kind of. For those that don't really know the history of Moist, this is a team that was absolutely dominant when they originally were founded with Rise, Joyo, and Vatira. Eventually, Moist let Vatira go and search elsewhere, which has obviously been fruitful for him with K-Corp. So they then brought in AztraL. AztraL wasn't originally the plan from the way things have been sounding. They were looking elsewhere. AztraL, to my knowledge, was also looking at Vitality, but that didn't work out. And the team kind of just figured things out. They went in at the major as the 5th seed, I'm pretty sure, in fall. And due to Rise's ability to adjust and make changes, he ended up taking over that kind of third-man role or that support role to set up his two offensive players in Joyo and AztraL, which led them to a second-place finish, which was absolutely fantastic. Rise, though, expressed that that was not the playstyle he wanted to play in his stream, as we've talked about in the past, and ended up then going to Oxygen, where they've been here and there, obviously looking to make a run at the Winter Major. Unfortunately, though, they then had to find a new replacement, which is Juicy, a very talented player, but a little bit too much of the same, in my opinion, right now on Moist, where you've got too many players doing the same thing, and it hasn't really worked out. So because of that, they made another change and are looking to make another change. Some of this also is expressed about the frustrations of AztraL. AztraL obviously gets a really bad rep because of mental. Obviously, he takes things very seriously, and mentality-wise has kind of been plagued and has this notion around him. My experiences with AztraL, obviously, he's always been fantastic, super energetic, willing to talk and communicate. But on the field, that might be different. I have never seen AztraL as a competitor, and I can only go based off of what other people say and their interactions. But this seems to be an ongoing issue with AztraL, despite being plenty talented and being one of the better players on LAN, who had a fantastic pop-off at the Fall Major. With that said, the rumors then are to bring in Oaly, who was the player, unironically, that got the yeet because of Rise and the debacle that went down with version 1 and everything else. And Oaly was just kind of left to the side with nothing to do last minute. He hasn't played in the last split. He's just been kind of waiting on the sidelines for an opportunity, and this could be a good one. Oaly's usually a little bit more defensive, does have AztraL-like tendencies. This is why he was originally brought in and scouted by Violent Panda back in the day. And a lot of really good things to say about Oaly's playstyle. So if you're seeing someone who endemically does play a little bit more defensive, that can then support Juicy and Joyo to play a bit more offensive, it could be a pretty solid response. Ultimately, the nice thing about this is there is no buyout for Oaly. There is no costs that are impacted. He doesn't have to worry about anything other than like, hey, how much are you looking to get paid and can we afford that? Which Moist, now having both Charlie and Ludwig, should be plenty fine. So overall, I think it's a pretty awesome opportunity. With that said, obviously you never know how things really work out. Again, these are just rumors that are being reported. There's no guarantee that this can happen. Also depends on what other opportunities are going to present themselves after the major. It's a big thing to take in consideration. While we do have teams going and competing at the major, roster changes and stuff like that in the trade window, which is extremely short, is going to be something that kind of turns heads or is open to concern, simply because there is teams that may go there and compete. The results aren't to the best of their ability, and they want to go look elsewhere, which then creates that domino effect. But that's when buyouts come into play and everything else, because a lot of these teams are going to try to put their best foot forward going into the final split and into the World Championship. So the roster changes that you make now is going to be locked in all the way from April until the end of like mid-August, I think is when the World Championship is. So things to consider. You obviously want to be as impactful as possible if you can be. So with that said, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, I'll try to update you guys on these. Roster document as well. Come over by the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Lawler, and type !RLCS rosters. It'll pop up for you. And I'll try to update that document with the latest and greatest being put out by Shift. But again, going to be interesting to see on what happens. Oaly to Moist. Will it be the answers they're looking for? And can they just stop letting their top tier players go? I don't know. Maybe Moist is letting them go because the buyouts are worth it, and they're able to recoup some of the costs. But man, it's really tough for them to build a roster and continue to have continued success if they keep letting those star players go. So who the heck knows what's going to happen next?